Good morning, brothers and sisters. Welcome to National Family Service. My name is Jennifer Pierce, and I'm going to be your MC today. I'd really like to welcome all of you, especially if you're here for the first time, and to those who are our regulars, to our international family and movement founded by Father and Mother Moon, whom we affectionately call our true parents. And their mission in life has been to build a world of peace centered around the marriage blessing and God-centered families. We'll be talking more about that later, so please stay tuned. But you can learn more right now by typing hashtag connect right here in the Facebook chat or visit nationalfamilyservice.org. Let's jump right in and listen to our opening song.
For our opening song today, let's go to Schaumburg, Illinois, and sing along with the Chicago music team as they perform the song, The Father's Dwelling Place. Thank you, Chicago Music Team, for that opening song. Now let's join Jerlyn Quilates for our opening prayer.
Good morning. Please join me in prayer. Good morning, our most loving Heavenly Parent God. Thank you so much for this beautiful day, this beautiful Sunday where we can gather together as brothers and sisters and as families from all over the nation and those online. God, I just really want to thank you for this time where we can gather together and join in and start this week with you, God. Thank you for our speaker today. I pray that you bless them and protect them, and please bless and protect all the families, brothers and sisters listening in, God. Thank you so much that we are living in a time where we can receive your word and receive your guidance, God. And I pray that however you speak to us in this speaker today, that we're really able to really channel in your love and feel your love from the message, God, and feel your guidance, God. So thank you so much for the speaker today and all of those who are helping prepare this National Family Service, God. Thank you for this time and I for this prayer. In my name, Jerlyn Quilates, the Quilates Pastor family. To
Next, let's head over to Las Vegas, Nevada, for a performance by Yoshiha Tsuchida and the Vegas Youth, singing an original song titled Daughter of God, written by Yoshiha Tsuchida.
Must he walk in this wilderness of hell alone? For years he searched for her believers, all gone, and heaven's gate is here. He cannot move on without her by his side, daughter of God. She stood by his side. Through all these countless trials, she stood by his side. And never once complained, I cannot doubt no more. The only begotten daughter of God. She will testify to all that from life and until death. She stood by his side. Through blood and sweat and tears, she stood by his side. Through all these countless years, she stood by his side. And never once did she complain, I cannot doubt no more. The only begotten daughter of God. She stood by his side. Through blood and sweat and tears, she stood by his side. Through Through all these countless years, she stood by his side and never lost her faith. I cannot doubt she is the only begotten daughter of God.
Wow, beautiful performances from both Las Vegas and Chicago Family Church. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, and to Julian for our opening prayer. And thank you, brothers and sisters, for your great comments, seeing how amazed you are about these performances, and for joining us this morning. And at this time, I'd like to welcome up the star of the show, Naokimi Yoshiroda, Family Federation President in the U.S., for our main message today. Welcome, President Naokimi.
Hello, hello. Good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday. Believe it or not, it's been a full 52 weeks of giving sermons on various topics. As you may remember, last week I shared on the topic of gratitude. And one of the things that I appreciated the most was learning the divine principle at a young age. It really provided me a clear worldview that's helped me navigate all kinds of challenges in life and really address some of the deeper questions that I faced. So starting this week, I wanted to actually do a sermon series on our core teachings found in the Divine Principle. As we explore these series together, I want to encourage you to read along and find new understanding through engaging in the original text. So let's start with the first sentence in the Divine Principle. Every human being is struggling to attain lifelong happiness and overcome misfortune. I think this is a great starter line. I always come back to this point. Let's read it one more time. Every human being is struggling to attain lifelong happiness and overcome misfortune. You know, whenever I read this, it reminds me of a time when I was a sophomore in college. I was dorming with a few of my college, roommates, and I had my own room, but it was shared with 3 other guys. And it was a Friday night, and they were having a party, like literally in the room, in the dorm room. I'm trying to sleep because it's already midnight, but I'm under my covers, and the the sound is so loud, the music is so loud that the walls are vibrating with a beat. Anyway, I'm trying to go to sleep, and then all of a sudden I hear a loud knocking on my door. Knock, knock, and it's like, now, I want to talk to you. Can I come in? And so I'm like, okay. So I sit up in my bed, I let him in, he comes and sits down, and the first thing out of his mouth is, now, Kimi, I just want to be happy. And there was a lot of alcohol in his breath, and he was kind of drunk, and he was sharing his kind of sob story of, trying to find happiness, but having it difficult. You know, I don't know if he just broke up or was having relationship challenges, but I spent a few hours in the evening just listening to his story, and he wasn't really looking for advice, but I was just there to kind of listen to him. And it perplexed me because he was really among the most privileged. I mean, my whole roommate, they were all like top students, really had everything going on in their lives. But regardless of how you're doing in other areas of your life, still this desire to pursue happiness is really essential. And so that's the thing I really want to go into today. We all want to be happy, but the challenge is, why is it that there's many times where we're not happy? Some say that it's because we tend to look for happiness in the wrong places, or that happiness is never meant to actually be achieved for a long time, it's always supposed to be fleeting. But I think that the reason people aren't happy is because something is fundamentally missing in their lives, and they don't know what. More accurately, they don't know how to satisfy their innermost heart. So let's take a look at what the divine principle has to say about finding happiness. The pursuit of happiness. Let's see. So here, let's read. From the dawn of history until today, human beings have ceaselessly searched for the truth with which to overcome both types of ignorance and attain knowledge. Humanity, through religion, has followed the path of searching for internal truth, and through science has followed the path of seeking external truth. So here, the divine principle, or DP for short, is saying that we have searched for truth through both science and religion. And as humans, we sought to improve our quality of life through developing all kinds of technologies. And we've also practiced a variety of faith traditions to help address these internal questions of life. Questions like, what's the purpose of my life? Or is there life after death? Even, does God exist? It's important to note here that science and religion are like different languages or different tools, which are valuable when used in their area of expertise. So it doesn't make sense to argue which is right or wrong, or better or worse. It's kind of like math and writing, right? You don't say that math is better than writing or writing is better than math. You could say, I personally prefer one over the other, but you don't actually give a value statement to one or the other. And you don't try to explain one through using the language or tools of the other. Like, you don't use numbers to write essays, and you don't just use words to show financial statements or architectural design. We need both. They're not meant to replace or compete with each other. Religion or faith and science are complementary things that we need to address different aspects of our lives. So let's continue reading. Only then, completely liberated from ignorance and living solely in goodness in accord with the desires of the original mind, will we enjoy eternal happiness. So the DP is saying here that the only way to enjoy eternal happiness is if we can overcome ignorance and live according to our original mind. Actually, our original mind is kind of like our innermost heart. Throughout history, our understanding and development of science has helped us dramatically increase our knowledge and quality of life. For example, when we discovered germs for the first time and the nature of disease, we realized if we could wash our hands, clean our hands, then we can really reduce the development of disease or getting sick. Or other technologies like the light bulb, or automobiles, airplanes, even cell phones, right? All of this has really helped us in developing our quality of life, which is great. But also, there's been a development of faith and religion over time as well. So, for example, in the Old Testament or the Hebrew Bible, the Torah was the first time it brought these basic laws and order. In the 10 Commandments, if you look at, number 6 through 10, they seem very basic, but it's fundamental. Like, do not kill, do not steal, do not commit adultery. The fact that they had to state those things means that before, there was no order. People were killing, people were stealing, people were committing adultery with no sense of whether that was right or wrong. So many times morality was driven by a spiritual maturity and understanding of what goodness is and what the way we're supposed to live is. And in the New Testament, we find that there's an elevated understanding or an additional understanding of forgiveness and love. You know, comparing, for example, eye for an eye, which was prevalent in the Old Testament, was elevated or additionally added was, you know, turn the other cheek. Basically, forgive your enemy. And Jesus also proclaimed the two great commandments: love the Lord with all your heart and mind and soul, and love your neighbor as you love thyself. So this understanding of beyond just rules, but to really understand loving each other and understanding the grace of God, this was really a progression of our understanding of faith, our understanding of God, and our relationship with God. So we've had all this advances in technology and science, as well as a deeper understanding of God's grace. Yet we are still unhappy. Why? Let's continue to read. This world and its desires tenaciously grab hold of religious people, driving them into the depths of agony. Such is the contradiction which plagues their devotional lives. Even many enlightened spiritual leaders, still torn by this contradiction, have met a sad end. You know, we see in society generally, you know, there's corruption in the political world, there's corruption in the business world, there's corruption even in the realm of religion, of which we ourselves are not exempt. This is simply the human condition. Again, we've had so many developments in science and even in our understanding of faith, but despite that, we're still struggling because there's still corruption. So even if we have all the knowledge and feel all of God's grace, unless we're able to overcome this corruption and be free to practice goodness, we will not be truly happy. And this world will never be at peace. So let's take a closer look at this corruption within. In the divine principle, it's called the great contradiction. Let's read. We find a great contradiction in every person. Within the selfsame individual are two opposing inclinations: the original mind that desires goodness and the evil mind that desires wickedness. They are engaged in a fierce battle, striving to accomplish two conflicting purposes. Any being possessing such a contradiction within itself is doomed to perish. Human beings, having acquired this contradiction, live on the brink of destruction. Seems like a very dramatic statement, but if you really experience this, you'll know how true this is. The divine principle is saying here that we all have this contradiction, this conflicting purpose within us that are at war with each other. One quick example that might make it easy to understand, it's like in the cartoons where there's an angel that shows up on your one shoulder, and then the devil shows up on the other shoulder, and they're kind of like arguing with each other, basically talking to your mind and your conscience, like, oh, which way you should do, which way you should go, or what you should do in any given situation. The angel represents your conscience, and the devil represents selfishness. Let's look at some examples, starting with the Bible. In the lives of religious people, one can see an intense struggle to realize goodness by single-mindedly following the desires of the original mind. Yet since the beginning of time, not even one person has abided strictly by his original mind. For I delight in the law of God in my innermost self, but I see in my members another law at war with the law of my mind, and making me captive to the law of sin, which dwells in my members. Wretched man that I am. This is from Romans chapter 7, verse 22 to 24. It's from the Apostle Paul, who is known as one of the most devout disciples of Jesus. He clearly felt this contradiction within. One related example of this is, this happens often where you want to be faithful to your spouse, but at the same time, you're drawn to the desires of your flesh, seeking stimulation through other partners or pornography. This is one common challenge I see many of us experience. Another example of this contradiction is self-centeredness at the expense of others. Especially in America, it's such a me culture, me first culture, right? And the extreme examples of this can be seen by turning on the evening news. All kinds of crime, robbery, homicide, rape, financial Ponzi schemes. These are all examples of extreme self-centeredness, where people are willing to put their desires at the expense of the happiness and comfort of others. I remember one time being really shocked. I was in middle school, just going home from school, and there were two boys around our age. I was with my friend, and they just kind of basically all of a sudden put me in a headlock and said, give me your wallet, give me your money. I didn't have any money at that time. The only thing I had was like a train pass. But my friend quickly gave them the train pass, and they let us go, and kind of we quickly kind of moved on. But it was really shocking for me. What would compel someone to kind of do that, right? And it left a lasting impression of this pondering of this question. Why is it that people would do such things? But if we understand that this contradiction is within each of us at different levels of expression, then we can understand that this is a perpetual issue that without resolving, there's no way we can achieve peace in the world. So, you might think that, I would never steal, I would never do the kind of things that you see on TV, but we all experience this on a smaller scale in our own lives. Whenever we put our own desires first, without, maybe not at the expense of others, but without considering others. One pet peeve of my wife is that sometimes I'm really busy and I just need to quickly eat and get back to work. So I would make breakfast for myself and sit at the table and kind of start eating. And she would look at me with this what the heck are you doing? How could you even consider eating by yourself without, preparing food for everyone? And so, that's one small example, but anytime we put just our own desires, our own needs first without considering others, then it affects those around us. Now, one other example of this contradiction within is the gap between our ideals and goals and our reality, or our intention to achieve something versus the actual execution of it. We call this the struggle between mind and body unity, where your mind is seeking growth and development, but your body seeks comfort and pleasure and relaxation. Again, it's not evil in and of itself, but when your body's desire dominate the higher desires of your mind, then things are out of order and it causes suffering and pain because it's not in the proper order. So some examples of that is when we're exercise, we want to exercise and get really fit, but we end up sleeping in. Or we want to focus on that side hustle and developing our career, but we end up watching Netflix and binging on TV, or simply procrastination itself. That's not what we really want to do, but we end up doing, and we feel bad about it. Personally, I find video games especially challenging because video games actually taps into my desire for growth and development. The only problem is video games are a virtual world. It's not reality, but it feels good because you see your own character developing, getting more hit points and magic points, and you get new weapons and equipment, and you feel really good, like you're accomplishing a lot. And games are really good at, showing immediate reward for any kind of development. One time I was on a particular phone game, and I was playing hours and hours. Every time I had free time, I was playing on my game. I still did my work, I still did my chores, but I remember distinctly having this conversation with my wife where she's upset at me, and I'm like, what? I did all my chores. And it was almost like I was doing the minimum necessary so that I can go back and play my game. So suffice to say, it wasn't really good for our relationship. Anyway, right before my 40th birthday, I decided to cold turkey. I did the math, and I was looking back at the past 4 months. I was spending literally 20 hours a week. It was almost like a part-time job I was spending on the games. And it's games, so it's free, it's entertainment, but the opportunity cost of that time was huge. The time that I could have been investing in my relationship with my wife or developing my career was spent on that game, which was enjoyable at the time, but it was fleeting in terms of real impact in my life. So we need to find a way to resolve these inner contradictions if we are ever to find lasting happiness. Hence, there's a need for a new expression of truth. This is where the new expression of truth comes in. Let's read. For humankind to fully realize the goodness which the original mind desires, at some point in history, there must emerge a new truth which can reconcile religion and science, resolve their problems in an integrated undertaking. The new truth should lead fallen people to block the ways of the evil mind and pursue the goals of the original mind, enabling them to attain goodness. It should guide people to remove the double-mindedness that sometimes seeks good and sometimes evil. It should also empower religious people to overcome the contradiction which they face in their struggle to live according to the way. So in order for humanity to move to this next stage of human development, spiritual development, we need a new truth that explains how to harmonize religion and science and shows how to manage this evil mind and strengthen our original mind, our heart, so that ultimately we can live our best selves. Let's continue to read. The new expression of truth should be able to reveal the heart of God, his heart of joy at the time of creation, the broken heart he felt when humankind, his children whom he could not abandon, rebelled against him, and his heart of striving to save them throughout the long course of history. The new truth should explain these puzzles, not in esoteric language, but, as Jesus promised, in plain language that everyone can understand. So this new truth should also elevate our understanding of God and help us in developing a personal relationship with God. There's also a need for understanding the purpose of history. Why did things happen the way that they did? Is there a meaning or purpose behind how history has developed? And also, finally, this new expression of truth should make faith and spirituality much more practical and valuable to everyday life, not just theory and ideology, but something that can help us in living our lives fully. So that's a lot to offer in one text, but that's what the divine principle does. And to give you a quick outline as to what it covers, let's take a quick read here. Due to the fall, human beings failed to establish this world. Instead, they fell into ignorance and built a sinful world. Accordingly, the new truth should guide fallen human beings to return to their original state. To do this, it must reveal the purpose for which God created humankind and the universe, and teach about the process of their restoration and its ultimate goal. So, quick outline of what the divine principle includes. It does identify what we call the fall, or what went wrong. Something went wrong and has caused the root or the foundation of the ongoing suffering, or the kind of the source, the root of sin and evil and selfishness. It actually identifies what that is. But also the divine principle explains about the principles of creation, which is, what did God intend from the very beginning? What was God's plan? What was God's ideal for each of us and the plan for humanity as a whole? And finally, the third section is all about restoration, which is really the history of God not giving up on us and continuing to work throughout history to restore this relationship that we're supposed to have with God, and ultimately to build this peaceful world. So in summary, finding happiness. Number one, we all want to be happy. Number two, we aren't happy because our inner contradiction prevents us from fulfilling our heart's desire. Number three, we need an expression of truth to resolve this contradiction within. And number four, the divine principle reveals the ideal, what went wrong, and the whole process of restoration so that we can get back to that original ideal. So, brothers and sisters, family, there is hope. A new expression of truth has been revealed that uncovers the source of our suffering, provides us with a clear solution that allows us, by applying these principles, once again to be free, to pursue, and achieve lasting happiness. I want to invite you to read along or reread the exposition of the divine principle together with someone during this DP sermon series. And with that, enjoy your Sunday, and may God bless you and your family. Take care, everyone.
Thank you, President Naokimi. What a great introduction to your Divine Principle series. If you liked today's message, please share it with your friends. At this time, I'd like to invite you all to take a moment to reflect on our reflection question today, which is, in your search of happiness, what contradictions have you faced or have seen within yourself? So let's take a minute. Thank you, everyone. While you guys are reflecting at home, I'd like to invite up some live reflections today. It's my pleasure to invite Keith and Katrine McCarthy and Alina Button to join me to share some thoughts about the sermon today. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to our panel. President Naokimi did an excellent job of hashing down the introduction to the DP. I'd like to hear some of your thoughts. Uncle Keith, or Keith McCarthy, what did you think about Naokimi's sermon today?
I always want to hear from the wise one first, so I'm going to turn to my wife and let her speak.
Thank you. You can correct me afterwards. That's good. Good morning, everyone. I'm so happy to be here this morning. I am so grateful that in my life I was introduced to the divine principle, because I think in our search for happiness, it can be so confusing, like, where should I go here? Should I go there? But what I appreciate about the divine principle, that there's an overall framework to life, to the purpose of life, and the explanation, there's internal and external happiness, religion and science, but also the most essential for me is understanding the importance of relationships. And that's where I probably find the most happiness. And so I'm so grateful for my family, because I feel in the pursuit of happiness, we need a supportive environment. And so I appreciate the family and the culture that came about through the divine principle, the blessing culture. And I want to wish, today is a special day for our family. Today is my daughter Amina's birthday. Amina, happy birthday.
Again, happy birthday.
You are wonderful. Again, relationships are such a blessing. To understand the importance of it, that I understood through the divine principle. Thank you.
Would you like to add to that, Keith?
Sure. We'll see if I can top that. My life in general has been fairly happy. I grew up as one of 8 children, and a Roman Catholic family. I was fairly religious when I was young, but I had a fairly strong conscience. But I found as I grew older and got into high school, peer group pressure would begin to influence me. And so I spent the next, 4 to 8 years basically destroying my conscience so I could do what my peers were doing, right? Hey, there's a concert. Let's go do this. Let's do this before. Let's do this after. And at one point, when I was traveling and I met our movement, and then heard the divine principle, it was really like a revelation, because I understood that in order to really gain happiness, it wasn't just a random experience, but I had to engage in relationship. And I had to do this actively, create, give, and take action. And now Kim had mentioned conscience versus selfishness. And so part of my experience in the divine principle is essentially restoring my own conscience in that original mind. But even now, if generally I'm okay with people. I get frustrated over small things. So if I'm writing, and the pen doesn't work, I go, stupid pen. And then my glasses are fogged up, doggone it. And then all of a sudden I get into some funk and really grumpy, and it really affects my wife. And when we're babysitting my son's dog, it affects the dog, because the dog thinks it's all her fault. And she tries to comfort me. She doesn't know what to do. She's afraid of me. So the dog's a good reflector of that. And then I have a little sign. If I get really angry in my office, I go, right? If I'm going to get angry, I have to say the right words. But so I think when we can't fulfill our hopes and dreams, we get frustrated. And when we can fulfill them, we find happiness. And ultimately, for me, it's the idea of aligning my hopes and dreams with God's dream is what provides the most profound happiness. And much of that is really in creating fulfilling relationships.
Yeah, I definitely, I felt very called out when you said getting easily to get angry. I think one of the amazing things about divine principle that you guys were saying is that there's a lot of emphasis on relationship. And we're just starting today with the contradiction part. Like, why is there, like, even though I'm searching for happiness, why do I always feel unhappy? And breaking that down. But I, like, skipping ahead a little bit, I think that's you're kind of cluing us into what the amazingness about divine principle is and how it impacted your life. Thank you for that. Alina, what did you think?
Yeah, I definitely was thinking along the same lines of relationships, or even just your environment. This year, I made a big move for myself, and I moved up to Kodiak, Alaska, partially because I really felt like I needed new growth in my life, and I needed to pursue that. I needed to actively pursue my relationship with God in an environment that I felt that was really good. So I think even just us taking our own ownership to take stock of what are the influences in our lives, and or the people in our lives influence a lot, and how to feed into a positive environment and positive people who are really acting on that part of their mind, and supporting them too, right? Like, it changes a lot for other people's perspective when you support that kind of lifestyle with them. They feel reinforced that what they're doing is it's really good and it's positive and it makes a difference to other people. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually, like you and Keith kind of brought this up, but just like the environment makes such a big impact, right? Like Keith was saying, like when he was in school, the peer pressure allowed his conscience to die. And you're saying you moved to a new place so you could have the environment to support your spiritual growth and life. Yeah. And I think that's kind of, the divine principle movement is amazing because it creates that kind of environment that supports positive conscious, more relationship with God, alignment, and working on ourselves. And so I think while also living a very selfless life that's fulfilling. And I think that was a little bit of offshoot of what you said, but I think that's kind of one of the benefits of having that. Anyone have any other thoughts to share?
I just think one thing I hear from you and from Alina and from each of us really is intentionality, being really intentional in what you're doing. Just like now Kimi mentioned, getting away from video games. You have to have a clear intention. And the divine principle is so profound. It gives us such an amazing framework for a worldview. And added to that is the experiential, spiritual, emotional experience we have with others in our movement. And if we've had a chance to be with true parents or true family, it just opens up so much. And it's like, wow, this is the peer group that I want.
I hope you're happy with the peer group.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
I'd like to just share that, as we're learning together, a lot of it is involving growth. And I think one thing about having a contradiction is that we're kind of unlearning a lot of things that we've gained and developed in the environment we live in or the way we grew up. And so even though we have this amazing new revelation in the divine principle, it's a little bit of a growing process and kind of like having an encouraging environment, but also being patient with ourselves. Like, okay, we need to continually be intentional, right? Like this, we want to live for the sake of others today. We want to make this intentional moment that we want to live a certain lifestyle. And it takes constant vigilance and patience. So I think, yes, it's a great teaching and it takes practice. Mm-hmm. So I hope all of our listeners can stick with this series. I'd like to thank our panelists for joining and sharing their thoughts today. I would like now to share about the challenge for the week. So this week, I'd like to challenge all of us to read the Introduction to Divine Principle, whether it's our first time or rereading it, and share it with someone else and have a discussion. So that is our challenge. I'd also like to mention that if you want to be part of our service, participate in the service, in the prayer, or the live reflections, you can contact your local pastor. And if you'd like to contribute a musical offering, you can email music@nationalfamilyservice.org. We have an exciting announcement. On December 18th, we are launching Blessing Fest, Marriage for Peace. I want to cut to the sizzle reel first and then share about that some more. So let's cut to the sizzle reel.
That's it. Hallelujah. Amen. Time to make space for the blessing. Thank God.
Yes, it's happening December 18th. This is the time for you to engage with Blessing Culture, learn more, be part of the movement. You can sign up right now to host your own watch party and find out all the information at blessingfest.org. Check it out, and it's going to be an awesome time. At the same time, while we're launching this amazing event, we also want to celebrate Blessing Culture. We talked a little bit about it today. We want to encourage all of you guys to share your own stories. If you make a social media post and use the hashtag Blessing Culture, we will see it. Report it to social.familyfed.org, and you'll be entered automatically into a raffle, and we'll donate $1,000 to the charity of the winner's choice. Find out more at social.familyfed.org. Share your story today with the hashtag Blessing Culture. Check it out. At this time, let's cut to our closing prayer.
Now, let's join Terry Yamane for our closing prayer.
Good morning, brothers and sisters. Please join me in prayer. Thank you, dear Heavenly Parent, for this time together across this nation and around the world in gratitude to hear the words being spoken by wonderful leader of second generation, now Kimi Ushiroda, who is so profoundly influenced by the divine principle in his life, as we all have been. And to speak on this topic of happiness, and to really be reminded that it needs our effort, that it isn't just temporary, that most important, Heavenly Parent, is that we get beyond the rules and come to the reality of your heart, that the place we're really seeking is to be in your heart, where there is true joy and true, lasting, eternal happiness. Thank you, God, for this time that we're living in, that we could be awake, that we could be called from our own sleeping lives to hear these profound words by the true parents who sacrificed their lives to come to America and to come to every corner of the earth to teach us these profound truths, to overcome the contradiction that it is lying within ourselves. It isn't out there. It's inside. If we can overcome and just live an unselfish life, we can live a life seeking to bring you happiness, dear Heavenly Parent, bring you joy. And that's why we find it in relationships. Because though inanimate things we can like, and even pets we can love, the real essence of your love is within our relationship with you, dear God, with our husband and wife, with our children, and in our own hearts and how we relate to one another. And if we can overcome ourselves, that's when we feel yes, to see the smile on another person's face from something we gave them or did for them, not from something we've received. We pray that we can really emphasize this simple yet profound truth when we speak to others, when we look within ourselves, when we answer questions as to why we seem happy all the time. It's because of this truth that helped us fall away. So again, thank you, God, for our life, for our true parents, that we can be living at this time and have the key to unlock the essence of what will essentially build the kingdom of heaven on earth, loving each other together with you and building the world that you've desired for more than 6,000 years. So in honor of all those who went before us, in honor of our true parents, in honor of all the religious leaders that tried hard but didn't have the key to see that it's overcoming the ignorance of internal and external ignorance, but that our faith now can be at the level of the amazing technology that has been able to even bring us here together today. Thank you for this service. Thank you for all those behind the scenes who make this happen with so much love and effort. And thank you, God, for the time we're living in. Help us to remember these truths in our daily lives, every single minute of every day, that we can live finally together with you. Together with brothers and sisters now around the world, I pray in deepest gratitude and offer this prayer in the name of Casey and Terry Yamane of the Yamane family, a blessed Central family. Amen and Aju. Thank you.
For our closing performance, we have a Holy Song Dance remix arranged by Audiolinks and features Hyojung dancers from across North America. You can look forward to hearing from Audiolinks again for the upcoming Blessing Fest in December.
Up to the Lord, send them hosannas up to the Lord. Offer attendance up to the Lord. Offering tables up to the Lord. Give what you got with a humble heart. It don't matter what when you're one in the heart. God ain't giving up, he been there from the start. Come attend if you want for some light through the door. Hey, sing aloud, hosanna. For your grace, come attend with us and rejoice in him as he brings new life in new ways. We long for your love, so always we give praise. We'll be victorious children for your sake. Let us go determined to seek and find all the promised glory of the Lord. They will sing new songs in the garden fair, songs of freedom bright with happiness. They will sing new songs in the garden fair, songs of freedom bright with happiness. Mother God being liberated. As we sing, you can see the transformation like a butterfly with its wings. So let us turn our eyes, open our hearts, and experience her joy in everything. Let us go determined to seek and find a new world of joyfulness and peace. They will sing new songs in the garden fair, songs of freedom bright with happiness. They will sing new songs in the garden fair, songs of freedom bright with happiness. Hold on to the standard. It is clear what the goal is and
Wow, thank you for that dance. And thank you all for joining us today. I hope you had a great time. If you enjoyed what you saw, please share this with your friends. Take this time and talk about it. You can go to nationalfamilyservice.org. Also, if you really enjoyed it and want to support this ministry, and click give, or nationalfamilyservice.org/donate, or just right here, just type #donate in the Facebook chat. If you want to see us again, please tune in next week and make sure you hit up that challenge and have a great week in the meantime. And we'll see you next Sunday right here at the National Family Service. God bless everybody. Goodbye.